Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where the contract system's obsession with Eve continues, and we're just going to hopefully get this done nice and quickly. Now, I just set up a maneuver here. This is identical or very close to identical to the maneuver set up for the other one last episode, and as you can see, this is going to be in 329 days. So we actually need to do this craft first, which is the one that we set up in the last episode. This is in 319 days, so that gives us some leeway there, and that'll be absolutely wonderful. So the next thing that we want to do is think about how high of an orbit we want to be in when we do this. So I don't think it really matters, to be honest. Honestly, this is probably good enough. Yeah, this is probably good enough. So 10 million kilometers, and then the other can be in a substantially different orbit, and that will make linking up a little bit easier. So I think at this point, all we need to do is warp on forward, and this is going to be a slightly lengthy warp, no doubt about that. I will be back once we are done with this warp. Okay, so here we are just about done with this warp. We've finished it as of now, so that looks perfect. We'll warp forward this last minute, 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay, so I don't really care too much what the resulting orbit here is as long as we have a proper encounter here. Because we're going to have to come back anyway, right? So it doesn't really matter too much. Let's go ahead and physics warp forward. And let's get this burn completed. So that's going to be about a 1 minute burn remaining there. And then we're going to have to warp forward about 10 days and do this again with the other craft. So that's absolutely fine. And we're just going to start falling in here. We can see 174 days at this moment. So that looks great. About 30 meters per second left. And let's get this last little bit done here, nice and cautiously. Okay. So this is looking great. Sure, this is good enough. Don't really care. So that's absolutely fine at this moment, and we need to hop over to the other vehicle. So at this point, we need to switch to this Eve flyby craft. So that'll be perfect. We're not going to dock together, so that will reduce some complexity here. We just need to do a crew transfer. And we can retract this antenna, so that should be no problem. Wait a second. One of these is supposed to have a crew member. Which one? I feel certain that one of them has a crew member. Is it this one? I didn't notice crew here. Okay, yeah, this is Valentina and Jessley. Perfect. So that'll be fine. Okay. I was a little concerned there for a moment, but it's all good. So we need to swap back to this guy, and this should be about 10 days in the future, this event. Yeah, 9 days, 2 hours. Close enough. So that's fine. We'll align to this node. There we go, and let's warp forward just that 9 days. This won't be too long at all, so that'll be absolutely wonderful. We'll get that burn commenced shortly, and I don't know what our resulting orbit is looking like. It's looking like this, which is fairly similar, but it's actually about twice as high. That's kind of perfect, actually. I like that. That'll be good. I like it. So we've got about an extra minute to go here. 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay, we'll physics warp through this one. Yet again, about another minute and 30-second burn. So that's absolutely fine. So in we come here, and again, I'm completely fine with basically whatever orbit we get, as long as it's somewhat similar to our line that we have here. We'll come out of physics warp. We've got about 50 meters per second to go. Now 25. Okay, this is coming in pretty rapidly, but that seems okay. Yeah, no issue here. There might be a small inclination change issue, but I'm fine with this. That looks perfect. So at this point, we're going to want to do a maneuver here, and that's going to be a circularization burn, where we're going to do something kind of like this. Okay, but now we need to switch to the other vehicle, and note that this will be in 172 days and 2 hours. So back to the other vehicle we go, and we're going to need to get a braking burn set up here. This one should be earlier, so we'll now head over to Eve. Focus view on Eve. There we go. And we'll set up this burn somewhere around here. This will be, I think, a little cheaper of a burn because we're coming in lower. But we would have to spend the fuel to raise it back up anyway. Anyway we slice it. So yeah, 165 days here. That looks perfect. So we'll get a line to this, and we'll warp on in. And these are not going to be all that far apart in terms of their timing. So that seems great. Let's go ahead and warp. And this is going to be a little bit of a lengthy warp. I'm definitely thinking about cutting out the warp, and I'm going to do it. See you guys in a moment. Okay, so here we are, basically in position. Just cruising right on in. We just zoned into the sphere of influence of Eve, and we're now 1 minute away from this braking burn. So if we take a look out here, there is Eve. Phenomenal. 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 mark. Okay, this will be a relatively brief burn. So 30 seconds remaining on it. Excellent. We're now technically in orbit, but I do want to have this be circularized. It technically doesn't have to be, depending on which craft we want to do the rendezvous with, and that's going to be based on how much DV we have in each, so that'll be fine for now. Of course, now what we need to do is we need to swap over to this craft, which is about to enter the system, and we need to do the braking burn for it. So that'll be perfect. We'll just make sure we're aligned to this node. We've got 7 days before this braking burn, so that seems absolutely fine. Let's just get oriented here. There we go, and warp on forward. So this is only a few days here, no problem whatsoever. We're now in the sphere of influence, and we're just hopping right on down. So we're going to need to do a comparison of delta V here once we get this burn completed. And to be honest, we're fine doing the burn now, but I'm going to warp it forward a little bit. But now I have actually overshot it. It's okay. It doesn't really matter all that much. So we're just going to bring this right on down and get into orbit here as well. This is going to be a little higher of a DV maneuver, and that's absolutely understood. We'll check the relative DV here to see which one of these craft we want to do the actual rendezvous burns on. It's going to be whichever one is higher. So that'll be fine. In fact, we could do the burns on separate ones if they're very, very close, in fact. We could do different components of it on different ships. That could get maybe a little complicated, but we'll see. Okay, so here we are in our circularized orbit. That looks fine for now. We'll put this on kill rot, and we're at 2504. If we switch here, we can see that we are at how much DV? 2498. That is very similar levels of DV. Okay, so that's absolutely noted. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to set this as the target, and we're going to do our inclination change here. And then the other vehicle will be the one that will do the actual rendezvous. So we are in pretty different inclinations. So we'll add a maneuver here, and we'll do our inclination change right here. I'm just thinking here, are we better off to keep this more equatorial inclination, or are we better off to keep this one? There's definitely math to be done there to determine which one we would need or would be closer for our return trip to Kerbal. I don't think I'm going to do it, but there's definitely math that could be done there. So for now, we're just going to orient this around, and this is going to be 89.2 meters per second. Let's just warp it on forward, and then we're going to do this. So then we're going to have this craft dip in. This one that we're in right now is the one with our... Actually, hang on. I've changed my mind on this. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to swap here. Have I? Have I changed my mind? Because we need to swap vehicles. So that means that all rendezvous maneuvering should actually be done with this vehicle here, because we need to swap vehicles. So that means that we should save as much delta V as possible on this vehicle. So that means that we were correct the first time. So let's just set up a maneuver right here and get our inclination change done. So something about like this. There we go. And we'll warp on forward. So we should do all rendezvous maneuvers on this vehicle. And then this vehicle is destined to crash into Eve, which of course means we've wasted a little bit of money on some of this stuff, but we'll see if we can keep it alive. It would be pretty funny if we could. So at this point, we've got 50 seconds, and let's warp forward a little further. 30, 20, 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. We are not on this node. Can we align to the node, please? That would be nice. Okay. Now we're basically on the node. This is probably good enough. Yeah, that's good enough. So at this point, I want to see what it would look like if we attempted a rendezvous right up over here. And this cleared our target for some reason. Set as target. There we go. So this is obviously pretty off on the timing, which is why being in quite different orbits is helpful, because that means that we can very easily just do a couple of orbits here and be in the correct orientation for a rendezvous. So I want to do something like that. That's an additional orbit. That was a lot of difference. So that means that we want to do this burn sometime around, if this would stop freezing on us. There we go. Sometime around here or so, most likely. 86.5 kilometers, that's fine. That looks absolutely good. So we'll align to this node. This cleared our target again. Okay. Well, let's just make our way right on down. There we go. And let's warp on forward. So we know we're going to have to do a full orbit and then come around, and that's absolutely fine. So this will get us a good rendezvous here, and of course, we're going to have to burn only 116? This is quite cheap. Okay, I like it. So 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay, let's go. So we are, of course, going to do some corrections as we come in. I'm going to call that good enough for now. 78 kilometers, sounds good. And let's warp on up to over here. So I want to move us over into target mode, and I want to be in relative velocity minus at this point. So this rendezvous is going to be in 3 hours. We've got lots of time for now. This is going to be a pretty gross adjustment at this point, to be honest. So we should warp forward a ways, like up over here. It's still going to be a pretty gross adjustment if we were to do this burn here. It would not be very fine-tuned at all. This is going to be in 44 minutes, and we only need 115 meters per second. So I'm actually going to warp forward. We're going to be about 10 minutes away from this. This warp is not going the fastest in the world now. Well, hopefully that changes. I mean, I don't expect it to be honest. So 5 more minutes, and this looks good. So I want to make an adjustment around here then. So I want to have this pinned open, and we want to keep in a close eye on that separation. Okay, so that's down to 54.1. We're a little on the high end in terms of our correction power right now. That's not terribly shocking. So that's 11.6 kilometers, and I just want to burn up over here a little bit. Maybe down this way a little bit. Okay, about there. That's 7.4, and let's warp in a ways at this point. So that's looking good. We're down to 73 meters per second. 7.4 kilometers is pretty close, but it's not as close as we want to be. We want to be within like a couple hundred meters. Actually, like within 100 meters for sure. So I want to do another corrective burn, but not really yet. Let's warp forward a little further than this. About 6 minutes forward. Okay, so that looks fine. 7.4 kilometers is our current separation, and we need to do a bit of a correction out over here. Okay, that correction is looking decent. 0.2 kilometers. I like it. So at this point, we're pretty much going to need to kill our relative velocity. So let's take this to relative velocity minus, and this is about 5 minutes in the future, right? So let's go ahead and warp forward a little ways here. And we can see there's our target vehicle. We can do a little bit of a corrective burn up this way yet, which I am going to do. Bringing us down to about there. Now we're going to sit at relative velocity minus. This is now 0.1. So that's within like 100 meters. That should be reasonable for now. And the question is, how are we doing on our life support? Well, it should be absolutely fine. That's no issue at all. So we've burned a fair amount of DV here, and we're going to need to warp a little closer than this, or maybe not even warp. This is going to be in about 30 seconds, so that's fine. I'm just keeping an eye on this. I think once we get down to somewhere around 300 meters? I don't know. We're coming in pretty quick. We may want to start a small deceleration right now. Yeah. Let's decelerate this a bit. Get this down below like 10 meters per second. I want to get it down to about 5. Okay, there we go. So now we're coming in at 5 meters per second, and that is not really changing our separation in any meaningful way. That's fine for now, but we're coming in at a much, much more manageable speed. So that looks good. So now about 600 meters away, and I'm going to warp us in a little closer. 500 meters. 400. 300. And our relative distance here is claiming to be 0.1. We're not quite on a collision course, I don't think. It's going to be pretty close, actually. So we're about 200 meters away right now. And we're just continuing to drift on in for the moment. I'm comfortable with this for right now. 150 meters. 125. We are under 100 meters of separation. I'm beginning to decelerate us down. So we're down to 3 meters per second. I'm going to put us at 2 for right now. So that's 2 meters per second of relative velocity. 55 meters at this point. And continuing to close. Okay, I'm bringing us down to be even slower. Under 1 meter per second right now. We are about we're under 30 meters away. This is really, really close, actually. It's kind of wild how close this is. Okay, so I'm just bringing us down very gently. We're still heading in at this point. I'm going to thrust limit us down to 0.5%. And we're technically still moving towards the target. Our node disappeared, but Smart ASS is smarter than that. Okay, so I'm just bringing us to a halt at this moment. That's functionally a halt, but it's not quite there. Little more. Little more. It doesn't look like anything is happening, but it is. Now, I believe we are basically halted. So I'm going to retract this antenna. And we're not going to have any connection with that antenna. So that's noted. We're going to have Jessely EVA at this time. And Jessely is going to fly off over this way. I don't want you to be tumbling. Kill rot, please. Okay, back over to Jessely. We need to go in on the bottom side here, looks like. So that looks fine for now. Grab. There you go. Cool. And now we'll board. And now that we're on here, the first thing that we need to do is we need to turn on our water purifier and our carbon extractor. There we go. So there's one crew transfer completed. Now we need to do Valentina. So Valentina is going to EVA and then extend this antenna so that we have contact here. And then Valentina is going to also hop off over this direction. And we're going to hop in on this bottom side as well. So this is the boat that's going to take us back to Kerbal. And there we go. We're in, so that looks good. At this point, we can take this guy over to prograde. Is that going to cause us a problem? This is looking suspicious. Technically, no. Technically. So I'm just going to build up a little bit of speed here. We're just very gently pushing until we've cleared our other vehicle. I don't expect a problem there, but that looks good. And now what we want to do is we want to push our way out of the system as soon as we can. So we've throttled up and we're going to be getting rid of not getting rid of anything. I guess we're getting rid of some fuel. So that seems fine, and that's escape velocity there. So we're just going to freeze it right there. Now we're going to go to the other vehicle. This vehicle is no longer necessary. We don't need anything here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix our staging that we never actually fixed previously. That's going to be something kind of like this. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. We're going to take this to orbital retrograde, and the idea here is that this is going to crash into Eve. So we need to bring this down until it is just barely dipping into the atmosphere. I just want to see if we can manage to have this survive or not. That'll be interesting. I have no idea if we can pull that off or not. We've got a decent amount of fuel, but not a ridiculous amount of fuel. So really what we should probably do here is we should just continue to burn. Oh, we're thrust limited. I was like, why is our fuel gauge not going down? We were at 0.5% thrust. That makes sense. So we're going to bring this right on down, and I'm going to be targeting a fairly low orbit here, with that orbit being something along the lines of... honestly, maybe just into the atmosphere, like 89. Actually, like 80, 87? Something like that. It's going to need to be pretty low. So let's just carefully dial this in a bit. We've got a fair amount of DV, though. So let's target just over 90, and I want to see with a maneuver node here. We'll add a maneuver here, and let's see what we've got for DV here. This is enough. Okay, so that looks good. We'll align to that node. That's going to be what we're going to want to do. Of course, these tanks will be dry, and the problem here is this antenna. I don't think that's actually a fundamental problem, though. Yeah, I think it's okay. If the antenna goes, it goes. That would happen when we detach these tanks. We'll be in a position where it's fine. It doesn't matter either way. So that's absolutely a-okay. So this is going to be in 1 day, and this escape is going to be in 16 days. So we might as well dispose of this vehicle right now. Let's warp on in. Eve, here we come. Okay, so we're nice and low over Eve at this point, and we are going to just continue to warp forward. 30 seconds, 20, 10. So yeah, we'll see if we have any problems with this Communitron breaking when this goes away. That'll be interesting. It may or may not. The burn should have started by now, so let's go. Okay, these tanks are dry. Beautiful. The antenna survived. It won't survive forever, though, and that's absolutely expected. So at this point, of course, we just need to bring this forward a little bit and get that apoapsis nice and low. So that's all looking good for now, and this is going to be like 80 kilometers. It's fine. We'll burn the rest of that off in a re-entry burn. And this is looking good at this point. I want to remain at retrograde. Thank you very much. So we're going to be re-entering very, very soon, and to that end, we should retract this solar panel, and this solar panel, and this solar panel, and this solar panel. And then we've got this communitron. If we retract this, we will never have probe control again. Luckily, it doesn't matter. So that's fine. Let's go ahead and retract this. Wait, we can extend it without probe control. I always forget that you can extend the antenna without probe control. I still don't think that we'll have probe control after this, because I doubt that this will survive the re-entry. That's okay. Let's warp forward for now. Until such a time as we hit atmosphere, which will be shortly. Now we're technically in the atmosphere. So let's put this on surface velocity minus, and I'm commencing the burn here. We want to burn off as much of this fuel as we can at this time, because we want to just get rid of that and expose our heat shield. We're still going to have major problems here. I don't expect to survive this. We'll see. It was always the plan that this was going to crash into Eve. So we're going to physics warp through, and we're going to be losing some speed here for a while. So we're definitely going to come down on the day side. That looks good. No issue there. Our speed is increasing at this moment, which is inauspicious. There's our plasma sheath starting to build up. Now our speed is decreasing. Okay, so we're seeing a heat gauge. I believe that this is for the communitron. We're seeing another heat gauge here, possibly for this water purifier. Now we're seeing a heat gauge probably for the re-entry module. This was never designed to land on Eve. I'd like to point that out. This was never supposed to be a thing. We'll see what ends up surviving here. Actually, I think this might actually be one of these solar panels. But we're definitely going to see this communitron go away. Kaboom. No problem there. We're slowing down a lot, though. A whole lot. Heat might be fine now. Yeah. We survived. That's kind of wild. So that's a successful entry. I like it. We're flying high over the peaks right now, and these parachutes are not tuned for landing on Eve. So they're going to open way too early, I think. That's okay. I don't mind. I'm just surprised that this survived as intact as it did. I expected it to go far worse. So honestly, we can take a look at all of this. That's all fine. But let's just bring this right on down. We can see that we're currently still traveling at a pretty rapid rate. We should probably get these drogue chutes out. So there we go, the drogues are out. And the main chute is safe to deploy at this point too. So we can just go ahead and do that and just bring this right on down to the ground. And then it is about time to put a cut in. So as soon as we get down to the ground, I'm going to do that. And next episode, we're going to see about returning our Kerbals back to Kerbal. That'll be absolutely wonderful. So we're about 1,500 meters up right now, traveling at about 15 meters per second. That is faster than I expected, but we don't have our main chute deployed yet. There goes the main chute. And we're at about 6 meters per second. That's survivable. We may have to litho brake a bit with our heat shield here, but sure. I'm actually surprised that this survived this well. I expected to have it go boom. It did a bit, but I expected it to go boom a lot more than that. But that's wonderful. That indicates that if we wanted to do a one-way landing, we could easily do that. Without any real problem with existing tech. Of course, I don't usually like doing one-way landings. That's, in my opinion, very problematic. And two-way landings on Eve are an adventure. Landing and returning from Eve is wild stuff. So let's see what this litho brake is like. Clean. Completely and totally clean. We're going to roll a bit. We're trying to fight it with kill rot. But the gravity on Eve is very high, so we're probably just going to roll down over here and rest. Is the idea, anyway. Yeah, that's about what I expected. So that seems absolutely wonderful. We can turn the smart ASS off, and we're going to slide a bit, but this is fine. We're going to call that good. So that is now completed on that stage of the mission, but of course we still need to return our other Kerbals back. But that is a job for next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Aurelio, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time. And hopefully we'll be able to start focusing on Duna. That would be nice.